Hello friends, today we're at the project garden and we're going to plant our corn and our bush green beans. Today's corn variety that we're planting is a sweet corn called Burpee's Triple Crown Bicolor Hybrid, quite the mouthful name. And then the only tool I need is this dibble to plant the corn. The first step of this bed that I prepared a few weeks ago is just to rake it out level. The homeowner's been driving on it a little bit and I've been walking on it and just want to get it leveled out so that it's got an even planting level. Now corn you have to be careful about. It is a wind-pollinated vegetable. So what that means is if you were to plant another type of corn within wind distance, you're going to end up with different kinds of corn. They're going to cross hybrid and you're going to end up with some weird varieties. Now if you do a couple different types of sweet corn, you'll see a visual difference, but the taste will still be fine. But if you were to plant a hard corn or a popcorn anywhere near sweet corn, you're going to end up with pretty much inedible mixed ears. Try to ensure good pollination. You should not plant long, skinny rows. You need to plant multiple rows, shorter, kind of a block system, so that the ears are more likely to be pollinated. So here I'm using the dibble and I'm just poking holes about an inch, inch and a half deep. Now the dibble is tapered so that the roots can get established, but the seed won't fall all the way down as far as the dibble goes in. I'm making holes about 5-6 inches apart, and as I go through I'm going to put the rows approximately 2.5 feet apart. I want a lot of small short blocks, row blocks, so that we're definitely going to get some good pollination going in with this corn. My secret that I'm not going to show you in this planting process is I have a seed pack that has so many seeds that I'm not sure exactly how far it's going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant one seed per hole. I'm not going to cover them up until the very end. And then if I have extra, I will go back and put a second seed in every hole. That way I ensure there's going to be germination in every hole. I don't want gaps or spaces. Here is what the seed corn looks like. And I did have enough to do 2 per hole, and I did have a little bit of extra. I'm going to show you my initial seed planting. What I don't show is me going back and putting the extra seed in. That's got to be a little redundant, but I just wanted to make sure that I had enough seed to do as many rows as I possibly can. But I had enough to do it all with 2 seeds, and then I was able to do quite a big area. We'll have a good, nice block of corn. Now what I will do is as they come up, the healthiest of the seeds that comes up through the hole, I will snip off the other one and keep the healthy one. While I'm showing you this extended version of me planting seeds, I want to talk a little bit about pollination. In an ear of corn, every kernel has a thread or a silk that ends up needing to be pollinated. If one of those silks is not pollinated, then you'll see that in the ear of corn that it's not developing. So if you want a full ear of corn, you need to have those short rows. It is wind pollinated, so you want them close together. You want the wind to be, shaking the pollen from plant to plant and ensuring that every one of those silks is going to get pollinated to make sure you have the best, biggest ears of corn. A little tidbit about me is I was born in Omaha, Nebraska and lived in North Platte, Nebraska when I was very young. So corn is something that is one of my favorite vegetables, and it's I think it's in my DNA. When we go golfing, instead of hitting into the woods, if you had a bad shot, you end up hitting into the corn because there's just fields of corn everywhere. Now, once you're done planting the seeds, and I'm going to go through after I put my second seed in, and I'm going to go through and just cover them up with my hands. So all you need to do is just fluff the dirt back into the hole, and then I'm going to probably grab a rake and rake it in a little bit. And then I found out that the owner of this home's daughter actually was driving on this with the lawnmower, so she got it nice and packed in. But here I am. You can't see my hand too well, but it's just nothing fancy, just covering the holes up and making sure that the seeds are covered. To give you a disclaimer here, I'm going to show some pictures of corn that was actually at a school garden where my son attends high school. He need to use that footage from last year because I have not been able to grow corn in my small suburban yard. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come over to this project garden, was to be able to plant some bigger crops that my space at home is rather limited. And if I grow corn, it's going to shade out a lot of other things that I'll not be able to plant. I'm not going to get into great detail on the growth of corn. But what you're going to see is the tassels will come out on top. You'll start seeing silk coming out of the developing ears that's very moist and yellowish white. Now as they pollinate and the ears develop, the ears will start to poke out a little bit more perpendicular to the plant, and then you'll start to see the silk dry out and turn brown. At that point in time is when the ears are done, and then you just pick them. If you leave them on too long, you're going to lose the sweetness, and you can end up with kind of not the best tasting corn. So you want to make sure you're pulling the ears back a little bit, checking on them, and pick them at the optimum time. The way you tell when they're done is you push your thumb into the kernels, and if they squirt a clear liquid, they're not quite done. But if they squirt a little bit of a cloudy liquid, then they're ready to roll. Okay, next we're going to talk about bush green beans. Now this is going to be the first crop that I'm starting to commingle with the spring vegetables, because what I want to do is I want to plant the beans between the radishes and the beets. And what's going to happen is the beans are maturing, it takes time, and by the time they're ready to roll and get big, we're going to have the radishes gone and the beets will be picked, and then the beans can take over that entire area. We're going to be growing bush beans, which are probably get to be about 2 feet tall at the most. And these are the Blue Lake bush beans. Using the dibble to poke holes about 1 inch deep. And what I'm going to do is about every 3 inches I'm going to plant a seed, and I'm doing them in short little rows in kind of a diamond pattern. It takes 3 full packs of seeds of the regular size seeds you buy at the store to fill even this little bed. Now beans and peas are 2 of the plants that are very unique in that they can take nitrogen from the air and they absorb it, and then they put these little nodules on their roots, so they can actually add nitrogen to the soil. Beans and peas do not need a lot of fertilization. They're pretty much self-fertile. They pull what they need from the environment. Now I'm not going to do this today, but what you can do to help germination of beans and peas is soak the seeds overnight, and you can buy a product that's called a garden inoculant, which is a black powder, and you basically coat the seeds with that inoculant. And what that does is it helps the seeds germinate, and it helps them form nodules on their roots for the nitrogen that they pull out of the air. Here's what bean seeds look like. Planting beans is very simple. You just drop 1 seed in every hole that you've already drilled with the dibble, and you just fill the bed up. Again, this short little bed took 3 packages of seeds to fill up this small little bed. You don't get a lot of beans when you buy the little packs from the nurseries. Sometimes you want to buy bigger packs, or make sure you buy multiple packs, because you just need to have a little bit more. You just don't want to be short on a row. Now to finish planting, I'm just using my hands, and I'm just filling in the holes, and I'm patting them down just to make sure there's good soil contact. And that's as simple as it is. It just takes a few minutes just to go through and making sure that all the holes are covered. The final step to any planting is to water it in well, and to make sure that you get the seeds really good soil contact. Keep them moist throughout germination. And seeds will always sprout the root first before you see top growth, so you need to make sure you keep your soil good and moist, several inches deep, so that those roots can really expand. Now for a quick update of what's going on in the garden. It gets exciting every week, so every week I like to do this just so you see what's going on. The potatoes are coming up. You'll see a row of beets, there are. And then we put the beans between the beets, and then you'll see the long green row is the radishes. So the beans will pop up right in the middle, and there's turnips on the end, and you see the strawberry bed at the top of the screen. Now here's some carrots, 2 rows of carrots, and then you see sometimes I put radish seed with the carrots and mix it together, because the radishes grow quicker, and when you pull the radishes, it spaces the carrots. Now there's some kale and some Swiss chard. And then this whole bed is either cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, red cabbage, I believe we have here. And then we have Walla Walla onions on the right, we have storage onions on the middle, and we have red, more of the salad onions on the left. And then here we have some zucchini and cucumber. And then this big bed we planted entirely with corn today. And that's going to come up in 5 to 7 days, so I'm excited to see it early next week. I'll be seeing some corn shooting up. And I went ahead and used the owner's small little tomato cages. So we decided not to spend money on buying the nicer ones. He seems to think I plant my tomatoes too close together, but my philosophy is I can always prune them on the tops, but as long as the roots are separate and have their own ability to establish and not interfere with each other, you can plant them closer together. And there's the strawberry bed again. So the garden is coming around. I think in the next few weeks you're going to be really surprised at how much produce we're going to be getting out of the garden. We're already starting to get a few small radishes, and we can always pull green onions anytime we want from this point forward. Now I want to talk about what my favorite types of green beans are to plant. I planted bush beans at the project garden because of space and a lack of structure to have them climb up right now. But what I do at my house is I prefer to grow vertically with pole beans. Pole beans are awesome. I plant them on wire rounds that are about 10 feet tall, and they just climb up, and they make it very easy to pick because I can basically be standing straight up and down picking beans rather than bending over. And these pictures show the kind of the growth and the progress of the beans throughout the year. And bush beans and pole beans, the actual bean itself looks very similar. I don't think you can tell them apart. You just the way they grow, though. Pole beans are very aggressive growers, and they can grow 12, 15 feet tall in a season if they have full sun and they're well watered. Rather than succession planting with beans, what I do is you got to make sure that you pick them regularly. If you pick beans, they'll continue to produce beans throughout the season. If you stop picking beans and you let some of the pods mature to full size, the plant will shut down. So always be very thorough when you're picking of beans, just to make sure that you stay on top of it and you keep that plant producing. Green beans are one of my favorite vegetables to eat. I like to pick them fresh. I like to just steam them in boiling water. And then I just put butter on them with a little bit of salt, and they're very, very tasty. People do not like green beans because they think they're those squishy things that you get in the can. But if you've never had a fresh green bean, you're in for a big surprise. Give it a try. Thanks for watching my video today. And if you'd like to continue to follow me in my journey to live my best rural life in the city, please subscribe and hit like and share so others can find me also. Thank you.